there's 37 universities that are in the association, so it's Colorado West, and it's a big event. It has really, even as the sport of rowing has changed with the divisional break-off. I think the original national championships had all 3 divisions in it, and as each group has become a little bit more specified, it's the one regatta that hasn't changed too much. It's a lot of fun. It's crazy. Races are on 10-minute centers. They start at 7 a.m. and go until 5 p.m. Heats and finals happen on Saturday, and then most of the grand finals happen on Sunday. And I think it concludes at like 1 o'clock. And, it's pretty exciting.
Well, yeah, we'll just talk about this event this weekend, and a lot of teams are going to be there. And what are your expectations this weekend?
This is our culminating championship for the team, and at the end of this weekend, the majority of our team will stop racing. There's one group that will continue on to the Dad Vale Regatta, and but I think this is a significant regatta for us. Everybody is just finishing out their season, and I think we're excited. We're not excited for the 90 degrees, so we've been trying to do a little heat training for that, which is quite humorous when you row at 5 o'clock in the morning when it's nice and cold. Yesterday it was 38 degrees, and they're expecting in the 90s this weekend. And I think in the past we've not done quite so well in heat like that, but we're working on it. We will see the first races of the day, women's novice 4. And then we'll race in the pair, and then the novice 8, varsity 4, 2B8, varsity 8, kind of in that order. And it all kind of culminates towards the end of the day. But novice have had just some really successful rows this season, but coming into the Weary Championships, I think this will probably be the first time where they've really been pressed. Some amazing Division I teams will be racing there this weekend. Some of the teams only send their novice to this program because their NC2A qualifier happens in 2 weeks. And so I think for them, I think it should be pretty exciting. I think there's 3 heats of novice 8s this weekend. And everybody will matriculate to a different final, so I think that's pretty exciting. I think the varsity events, the varsity 4 event was the only event that wasn't seated this weekend. And I think that was just something that was overlooked from the bylaws meeting from last year. So this is, not a bit of a gamble, but you're not seated appropriately, to speed. And there's a lot at stake here. So, we're hoping to matriculate into that grand final with UCSD in Western Washington. Right now, I think we're scheduled to race them in the Western in the heat, and UCSD is in a different heat. And I think in a perfect world, we'd all be racing, to kind of get a sense for where we are in the region. What we see most of the time is that whoever wins the varsity 8, and generally the varsity 4 kind of combination, is the school that ends up going to the national championship. And, of course, across the season, we've all been building up speed. We've raced UCSD twice. And we've split with them. They took us on the first race, and we took them on the second race. And then for Western, we were within 3 seconds in the first race, and they beat us soundly. I think it was like 6 or 7 seconds in the second race. And so we just have been kind of hoping to improve, over the course of season. We have a very young team. I think we graduated. I think 9 kids last year. We're graduating 9 kids this year. And so if you look at our roster, what you're going to see is that they're going to be an exodus of seniors, and we have a lot of sophomores right now. So it's, I think what we've seen through the course of the season is that there are moments of brilliance, but we've not had the ability to be really consistent in our racing. And, as you head into championships, and, of course, this is what happens with the inverse power curve of here we are culminating at championships, and it's concurring with exams. So we've seen a lot of stress levels over the last 2 weeks, and when you're rowing at 5:30 in the morning, you start to see the wear and tear of an entire year's worth of training potentially heading in a direction that you don't want it to. But, obviously they're students, they're here for a reason, and trying to help create a balance during championships is almost impossible. So, I think kids are, trying to manage their time a little bit better. We felt like practice was a lot more productive today. Yesterday, there were a lot of little tired zombies out there rowing in the boats, and so I think it should be good racing. We'll see some of our big Division I rivals in the novice events and the varsity events. We are pretty much parceled out. Division I separates themselves out in their NC2A ranking events because there's so much at stake for them. We're kind of intermixed with Division III in club programs, and that's not to say that they're not fast, because there's a lot of programs that are in there. I think UC Santa Barbara missed winning the national championship at the IRAs last year, which is club nationals, by like maybe 3/4 of a second, and they beat us last year at this very regatta. They have multiple boats and events, which is pretty remarkable for a club program. So we expect there to be some really fast times out there this weekend, and I think we've just been trying to find the composure that we need in racing, and the ability to adhere to our race schedule, our race plan, and hopefully we have some good results when we come out this weekend.
Now, you guys had last week, or you didn't compete last weekend, correct? And so will that help you this part of the season, where I'm sure, like you were saying, kind of the wear and tear throughout the season, just kind of having not competing, on that weekend, does that help you guys out going into this week and hopefully trying to rest up if there is such thing as rest?
I think we talked about this at the beginning of the year with the compression of the schedule. So only having 4 weeks in May really has impacted our ability in setting up a nice confluent race schedule. And in losing regattas in May, we did some creative things. So over spring break, we tried to scrimmage every day that we were out at spring break, which I think in hindsight was a pretty cool thing to do. And then, the idea was also to take the team to San Diego Crew Classic, and a bit of a kerfuffle there. If you enter a varsity Division I event, you can't enter any Division II events. So we didn't end up taking our entire team, but we did take 2 8s and a 4, and last weekend was their first weekend off in a month. And, remember, I suppose there's the right way, the wrong way, and the way we do it. We practice on the weekends and we give them their day off during the week. And so I think, if you look at the grind of what it means to have practice pretty much every weekend since school started in January, and it's not a stretch, and they truly haven't had a weekend off since Christmas break. And so I'm not sure if this weekend actually helped them, but it gave us an opportunity to get in some good training in daylight hours. We got I think we had all hoped to have a sleep-in day, and somebody had a job interview, so we all were back down there dark and early on Saturday morning. So I think we've started a little bit later schedule this week, and I think more sleep has actually helped than anything that we could possibly do. But in a perfect world, you would have this schedule that maybe every 2 to 3 weeks you had a bye. But we knew it wasn't going to happen. We knew that was going to be a challenge for us this season.
Just to be clear, will this event in Sacramento determine if you go to nationals, or will it still at the event in Philadelphia? Will they have any pairing about your opportunity to go to nationals?
So, of course, whoever wins WIRAs in the Division II will be probably the bid that comes out. UC San Diego and Humboldt are both going to attend Dadville Regatta, and I think you have to create your own luck there. So University of Central Oklahoma made a trip out to Bellingham, Washington this weekend, and raced Western Washington, and they beat Western Washington. And UCO, I think, may be ranked second in their region, which bodes very well if they were to never race anybody on the West Coast again. They would probably be assured some type of berth if they didn't win it outright in the South region, and I think they were only 1 second behind the #1 ranked team in the nation. It bodes pretty well for them. And so, for Humboldt and UCSD going out to Vails, it would give us an opportunity. If we don't win a berth outright at WERA Championships, then that is your next best place to go for any of the at-large berths. So there's an at-large team berth, and there are 2 at-large 8 berths. UCO, I think for all intents and purposes, we knew we're going to be fast. He's been talking about the specialness of his team, just the talent that he had from last year, and not losing anybody going into this year. I think we all knew that they would be fast. And sometimes it's really hard to get a cross-region rank until you get to Vails. So the fact that they came out to Bellingham and raced and won, and the conditions weren't ideal. They had a pretty terrific tailwind, and they had some pretty big rollers on their lake that I think could be challenging for any of the best crews. But it sets a precedent for you now beating Western Washington, which is the number 3 ranked crew in the nation. Certainly is going to change their place in the polls. So I think you have to go for your own reasons, and I think Vails is what we know about Vails is that it's really a patently unfair race course. So if you don't get seated 1 through 4 and you get one of those outer lanes that can often be really dead water, you could seal your own deal, but not in the way that you want. And I think we saw that last year with UCSD. They went and they just raced poorly, and had they not gone, they would have probably gone to the nationals as the at-large berth. So it's you could create your own problems. And of course, Vails is landing in graduation weekend, and